I've seen it in my manifestation. I'm sleeping this guy and going to create the most viral knockout ever.
We're sparring.
That's what we need.
We're sparring.
Warm up.
Some
I know
8-year-olds.
one thing,
I got the 8-year-olds in there.
If I find out anything, I'm going to beat your ass. And I'm going to beat Jaden on Love. On my mama, I'm going to beat both of y'all ass.
For them.
Will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, a 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from.
Tensions have exploded after Gervonta "Tank" Davis reportedly erupted in response to Jake Paul's latest provocation. Paul boldly claimed he would knock Tank out in just 3 rounds. That single statement has ignited a firestorm across the boxing community. Critics call it disrespectful, supporters call it fearless promotion. But one thing is certain, this declaration added real stakes to what was already one of the most talked about matchups in modern combat sports. Insiders note that for someone of Davis's caliber, a world champion, a technician, and a symbol of boxing excellence, this kind of fight carries risk. Losing to a crossover star like Jake Paul could shake his reputation and invite questions about his legacy. Yet, if Davis conquers the hype, the power, and the size advantage Jake brings, the victory would be monumental, a defining moment etched forever in the memory of fight fans around the world.
I think Davis is more to lose because he's the bona fide world champion. I don't care if he's much smaller. I think Jake Paul has sort of plateaued as far as where his boxing is concerned. It's rather low level. Yeah. He's big, he's physical, he's strong, he can hit. So there is that risk. Davis, at lightweight, you're in a moment where it's too physical for you. You can clinch. Against the heavyweight, where you clinching? You ain't getting out of that corner just clinching anymore if you run out of space. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. But Davis, listen, there's a lot of talking points that I'm sure we'll get into when this gets closer to the fight. Davis can still punch a lightweight. Can he drop a heavyweight? There's a lot to gain there, right? If Davis knocks
the answer is yes.
If Davis drops Jake on his ass, as much as Davis is the one with more to lose, it's still a highlight moment.
A visual that will stay forever.
Yeah, but if you get dropped, even if you're smaller, you're still a world champion in multiple weight classes. If you get dropped, what's the look? What's the feel? On the inside, as boxers, me and Chris Algieri, the champion, even you, Jimmy, you have fight experience, so we know that the risk is a big guy that big hits you. You're probably going down if you're a small guy, if he hits you clean. So we know the risk, but how does it look to the public eye who don't understand that? You know what I mean? The public. So there is a lot to lose, though. There's a bit to gain. I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with this had Davis's career arc been one that benefited boxing. Davis was manufactured and put into a position where he's supposed to benefit boxing, and I don't think he has. I think he's hurt boxing. So by giving him this reward, that's my problem. Why are we watching this? Why don't you make him earn his spot that he still hasn't earned?
Jake Paul, never one to shy away from theatrics, has doubled down on his boldness. He declared that he's not just going to win, he's going to deliver the knockout of the year against Gervonta Davis. His words aren't just trash talk, they're a calculated statement. Paul views this fight as his chance to legitimize his boxing career once and for all, to silence doubters, and to create a viral moment that transcends the sport. By promising a knockout, Jake is betting on more than his power, he's betting on his image, his showmanship, and his ability to turn every punch into a headline. For him, this isn't just another bout. It's an audition for immortality in boxing folklore.
Fighters, because this thing is going to be watched by hundreds of millions globally. Jake, give the people one thing that you can guarantee that they're going to get on November 14th when they tune in to Netflix.
Yeah, you're going to see the 2 biggest fighters in America go head-to-head with an amazing card. World championship fights back to back, and that's just how the MVP way we do it, and I'm going to come for a knockout of the year again. I've seen it in my visions, I've seen it in my manifestation. I'm sleeping this guy and going to create the most viral knockout ever.
Rolando "Rolly" Romero has stepped forward to cool the frenzy, offering a perspective grounded in respect. He insists that even if Jake Paul somehow pulls off a shocking knockout, it wouldn't destroy Gervonta Davis's legacy. As Romero explains, Tank is already a 3-division world champion, his credentials and dominance across multiple weight classes can't be erased by a single loss. One fight doesn't define greatness, Romero remarked. He reminds critics that legends are measured by consistency, not one night. Even if Tank were to stumble, his resume already speaks louder than any viral moment ever could.
Bro, you can't be mad at somebody for doing what they feel is best for them.
Will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from him. Bro, you can't be mad at somebody for doing what they feel is best for them. It's the same way Roach feels Tank is the best option for him. Same way that Stevenson thinks Tank's the best option for him, or like all that stuff, right? At the end of it, bro, we just want to do what's best for ourselves, right?
Facts.
Right or wrong?
Facts.
So just do what's best for you.
Expanding on his thoughts, Romero pointed out that regardless of what happens, Gervonta's reputation is untouchable. He's proven himself repeatedly at the highest levels, collecting belts and breaking barriers. Tank doesn't need Jake Paul to validate his career, Romero said bluntly. Still, he acknowledged that Jake's size and physicality pose real challenges, advantages that can't be ignored. But even with that, Romero believes Tank's skill and championship experience set him apart. Win or lose, Davis's accomplishments in the sport remain unmatched, and no YouTube star can take that away.
Big for him, but like Jake Paul might be too big for him, or Tank might crack him. You don't know. Like I said, like, or as an exhibition, we don't know if they throw at each other or not, or we don't know. I don't know. I can't give an opinion because I don't know what's going on.
Do you think it impacts, like, will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from him.
Former UFC champion Daniel Cormier was visibly taken aback when he learned about the Davis vs. Paul matchup. In a recent interview, DC didn't mince words, calling the fight ridiculous and bizarre. He questioned why a pound-for-pound level fighter like Gervonta Davis would even entertain a matchup with an influencer boxer. Cormier expressed genuine concern about the physical mismatch, emphasizing Jake's size and knockout power. To him, the bout risks blurring the lines between competition and spectacle. Tank has everything to lose here, Cormier warned. If this goes wrong, people will question his judgment more than his skill.
I swear to God, I was on a plane coming home from Las Vegas. When Luis told me Gervonta Davis is fighting Jake Paul, I said, get the bleep out of here. I said, you're a bleep liar. Jake Paul is fighting Gervonta Tank Davis. There's one problem. He fights at 135 pounds. Gervonta Davis is that much better than Jake Paul at boxing. But Gervonta Davis in his last fight weighed 133.8 pounds. And I'm not over here in the business of just crapping on Jake Paul. I am much more respectful of what he's starting to build as a professional boxer. You're fighting a guy that's better than you. He's just much smaller. But that guy, because he's better than you, what if he wins? Everything Jake Paul has done is wiped completely out. Gervonta Davis loses to Jake Paul. Obviously, it's going to hurt who Gervonta Davis is. But he lost to a guy that's going to be upwards of 70 pounds bigger than him when he steps into the boxing ring. But I will tell you this right now, without a shadow of a doubt, I will watch this. Tank Davis is 30-0-1. You want to talk about Jake Paul fighting a real boxer? That's a real boxer. You can't make this stuff up, man. It's true. They're fighting.
KSI, another crossover name in the influencer boxing world, took a different but equally critical stance. In a recent video, he accused Jake Paul of prioritizing hype over authenticity, claiming that these crossover bouts are warping the sports foundation. Boxing used to be about merit, KSI said. Now it's about moments and views. He suggested that Paul's promotional style manipulates narratives for clicks and attention, rather than celebrating genuine athletic excellence. His comments reflect a growing concern that boxing's purity is being replaced by entertainment-driven matchmaking.
AJ and Jake was never gonna happen.
I didn't.
Really?
Yeah.
You thought it was actually gonna happen? Well, it's so crazy. Like, I feel like so many people just believe everything online.
But that's pretty unbelievable on the other hand.
I feel like I know, well, okay, how do I say it like this? Etoma versus White. I had a lot of people bet on White winning. And I'm there like, you guys don't watch boxing, do you? You just look at a record and go, oh, Dylan's fought many more people than Itoma. That record says a lot. Itoma's like 18, not 18, Itoma's 20, inexperienced, Ramon. Like, I just knew Itoma was gonna just destroy him. And I think a good fight for Itoma would be him and Wilder.
Veteran journalist Gareth A. Davies also voiced sharp skepticism. He described the Paul versus Davis fight as another example of boxing losing its balance between sport and show. Davies questioned whether the fight's purpose is competition or cash, pointing to the size gap and the rumored exhibition structure. It's less about who's the better fighter and more about who can sell the story, he remarked. While acknowledging that it will likely generate record-breaking attention, Davies fears that it may erode the sport's integrity. If the line between spectacle and skill keeps fading, he warned, boxing risks becoming theater instead of combat.
I think we've gone out of the frying pan and into the fire because we thought we were going to get Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua very soon. We'll speak to Frank Smith about that in the next section, obviously. Eddie Hearn was teasing it to me personally last week, £80 million on the table for Anthony Joshua to fight Jake Paul. But 8 inches in height difference, 7 weight divisions between them, 5 stone, 70 pounds between them. It's a joke. It's a circus fight as opposed to a disgrace of a fight, which was Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. At least you feel in this you've got quite a poor, very big one against a pound-for-pound, brilliant, unbeaten little un. And the little un who'll come up to his navel will hit him with a lot of body shots. I said in the week to Danny Kelly and Charlie Brooker that, do I mean Charlie Brooker? No, Baker. Charlie Baker. That Charlie Brooker's a different person altogether. That he'll be throwing the Superman punch, the leaping left hook. It's going to be a very odd thing. It's called, in inverted commas, an exhibition bout. But everybody in boxing who is a name doesn't mind going in with Jake Paul because they know they're making millions of dollars. And that's the only reason that Gervonta Davis, who's being called the poison little elf by Jake Paul, and it'll be fun in the build-up, everybody in boxing knows they're guaranteed to make millions of those silverbacks, those greenback notes that they give out in America, and they give them out for fun when Jake Paul fights. So he's not going to say no to it. But can you pick a winner in that fight?
Even Gervonta Davis himself has opened up about his thoughts heading into this unconventional bout. He's admitted that Jake Paul's power genuinely concerns him, something he hasn't often said about past opponents. Tank has mentioned that he plans to test Paul's strength early in the fight. He also recognizes that Jake's reach, movement, and size present a new kind of puzzle. He's not like the guys I usually face, Davis explained. He moves differently, he's awkward, and mentally, he's tougher than people think. Despite these acknowledgments, Tank remains calm and confident, vowing that on November 14th, he'll adapt and rise to the occasion. Supporters of the fight argue that this matchup represents the new face of boxing. Jake Paul has drawn millions of younger fans into the sport, people who might never have watched traditional fights before. His blend of social media charisma and athletic dedication has created a crossover phenomenon. Meanwhile, Davis's authenticity, raw intensity, and no-nonsense persona connect with audiences who crave something real. Together, they represent two sides of modern boxing, entertainment and excellence colliding in one ring.
Years in the making, when a fairly novice Jake Paul made a wish list of future opponents, and right in the middle of that list was Gervonta Tank Davis. Many laughed at the time, and some still can't believe we're here. But these two young men are the face of boxing for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. They are the two biggest boxers in America, and they're putting it all on the line. One has the speed, the skill, the accuracy, and the one-punch knockout power. The other has the size, the force, and the unbreakable confidence to make this must-see Netflix.
Does Jake Paul have that concerns you?
What concern me? His power. Gotta test his power. of the test is just everything. To be honest, I never been in the ring with Jake, so I could say a lot. But when it comes down to November the 14th, you know, I gotta be in there with him. I gotta be able to, you know, his arm reach, his size, his power, you know, the way he moving and things like that. I just gotta adapt, you know, as I fight him come.
Nikisa Badarian, co-founder of Most Valuable Promotions, has confidently dismissed concerns over Jake Paul's size advantage. "This isn't about size, it's about skill," he stated. According to Badarian, Jake only required a heavier catch weight because of his inexperience compared to Davis. He also revealed that the Paul vs. Davis showdown had been in the works for years. "We were already eyeing this fight after the Canelo deal fell apart," he said. Once that happened, Tank became the natural next move. Badarian insists that both fighters wanted this matchup and that it wasn't some last-minute stunt. "This is part of the bigger plan to merge boxing's future with its past."
Bro, Jake and Tank are gonna happen November 14th.
Whatever weight they want, man, they're talking about it, and whatever it is, it's gonna be a definitive outcome. People can talk about pro, exhibition. We're gonna make sure this is as real as it's real.
Why was it, just out of curiosity, why is it not a professional bout and why is it an exhibition? Because I'm sure Jake would have taken the professional bout.
Nothing's been communicated as yet in terms of what it is, right? Similar to, if you remember with Paul Tyson, when we announced it, we didn't have the weight, we didn't have the rules, particularly in terms of the number of rounds, the minutes, the gloves. It's gonna be the same thing here.
Gotcha. Can you just offer us any insight as to how these negotiations went? The reason I ask is because I remember back in March, I was at Tank's fight, and after his fight in his press conference, he was asked, next opponent. He said, well, my next opponent might have been in my locker room tonight. And people asked him, was it Jake? He made reference, he made allusion to. Has this been an ongoing thing? And has it ever, you know, been at a point where it wasn't gonna happen and came back, or was this always the plan?
Always been the plan for Jake to fight Tank once Canelo didn't happen. And to Tank's credit, he's a real bad dude, and he's been calling out Jake for 3 years. And people, it's funny how now they're saying size matters, Jake is big, and for so long it's been Tank would kill Jake Paul. Now you get to see if that's real. Thank you, man.
Badarian elaborated further on the size and skill debate. "Yes, Jake's bigger and longer, but Tank's experience is on another planet," he said. Davis has been competing at world champion levels for over a decade. His speed, timing, and knockout ability have dismantled elite opponents. Jake Paul, while improving, hasn't yet faced anyone close to that caliber. Across social media, fans are split. Some accuse Davis of chasing an easy payday instead of pursuing tougher opponents, while others argue he's already proved himself. His undefeated record, multiple titles, and consistent dominance speak volumes. Critics calling him a sellout ignore that Tank has nothing left to prove, only opportunities left to seize.
Don't ever fight no Shakur Stevenson, no Keyshawn Davis, no Teofimo Lopez, no, none of them dudes. You know what I'm talking about? We gotta think and look at Tank Davis's whole career. He done made some bread, but at the end of the day, all that bread that he made, when it's all said and done, he ain't gonna get no respect from his peers, because we gonna look down his resume and we gonna be like, he was trash, he was some trash, he was some trash, he was alright, but he was never like that. He was okay, he was some trash, he was some trash, he ain't did nothing. Hey, that's just what it's gonna be at the end of the day.
Supporters say that these criticisms miss the bigger picture. Gervonta Davis has already built a legacy defined by skill, hunger, and discipline. Choosing a crossover fight doesn't erase that, it only expands his reach in a changing sport. In modern boxing, promotion and visibility matter just as much as belts. Meanwhile, Jake Paul rejects the notion that championships define worth. He argues that his achievements, breaking pay-per-view records, defeating names like Anderson Silva and even Mike Tyson in exhibition competition, have already changed the industry. When presented with an honorary WBA belt, Paul refused it, saying he'd rather earn a real title than accept a symbolic one. For both men, this fight represents something deeper than gold. It's about legacy in a new era.
They'll never give me credit until I have the world championship belt, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. You know, but belts collect dust. and what I've done in the sport is unprecedented. Never will be replicated, and done it in such a short amount of time. Just getting warmed up. They're not going to give me credit, but I don't need the credit from these bozos, to be honest. The credit's in my bank account.
In classic Jake Paul fashion, the YouTuber turned boxer is already looking beyond the Davis fight. He's publicly called out Anthony Joshua as his next target, a move that sent shockwaves through the boxing world. Critics call it delusion, fans call it ambition. Joshua, an Olympic gold medalist and heavyweight icon, stands several divisions above Paul in both size and experience. But Jake's pattern is clear: he's constantly chasing the next mountain, the next challenge, the next viral moment. Whether it's confidence or calculated chaos, Paul continues to prove that he's willing to face giants to keep his name alive in every conversation.
One, anytime, any place, against all odds. And I like my odds. First, I'm going to kill David. Then I will go on to slaughter Goliath. Okay, so you have to think that the last one, first I'm going to kill David, referring to Gervonta Davis, and then he's going to go on and slay Goliath, referring to Anthony Joshua.
Yeah. And
he's going to go and fight a 140er, and then move up 135er, and then move up and fight a heavyweight.
So the lowest he's been, I went through all the fights. For his first two fights, his first two pro fights, he was 175. Now this is all the way back in 2020 against Nate Robinson. Since then, the lowest he's been, as you said, was like the 185 around the Nate Diaz fight, and also for Tommy Fury. I wonder if Jake can get down to that weight anymore. But regardless of Jake's weight, I can't fathom how Tank Davis would be anywhere in the realm of what he would be. Like, it just, he won't even be in earshot of what Jake Paul is going to be.
And now the question lingers: is this fight a brilliant business move for Gervonta Tank Davis, or a dangerous gamble that could backfire? As fight night approaches, one thing is undeniable: when power, fame, and legacy collide under the lights, anything can happen.